When you're a monster on offense, the number one thing you got to do is keep being a monster. How do you reload an offense and make sure you take it to the next level and keep the pressure on the rest of the NFL to keep up with Patrick Mahomes? Well, that's question number one. We're going to get into that tonight. Look at the offseason. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to RGR Football. Welcome back, everybody. Dan home. How are you?
What's up? I'm doing good. I had a good vacation. Colorado is beautiful. I'm sure you know that. You live there. But yeah, I'm doing really good. Nice and relaxed. And, I got to miss out on a lot of the drama that happened last week, even though I was still kind of there. But yeah, it was a good week to be on vacation in terms of Twitter.
I think you won. At the end of the day, I think you won it all. Oh, folks, welcome back. Hope you're having a good week. The snow is starting to fly out here. We're going to have a fun time tonight talking about what the offense needs to do in order to get back and put, like I said, pressure back on the rest of the NFL. Aaron Morrow will be here later. Stevie Keys is in the chat. Hope you guys are doing well. I see a lot of friendly faces in there. We will get to your questions as always. Oh, looks like Aaron's already here. So, hey, we are set to go. Let's see. I'm going to stack up some questions, but just general concept, and you can be as specific or as vague as you want. What do you think ought to be the priorities? It'll get back there in a second. It's fine.
Eventually. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, little focus here. Zoom in your face. It always helps like that. See, that's what I do.
Hey, we got it.
Gotta find your head again. Because I have a general, all or nothing kind of this is what I do, this is where I'm going. So where would you start? What do you think the priority has to be, and how do they get it to the point that they can scare people again?
So honestly, I don't think anything different needs to happen in terms of schematically. I think they know what they're doing, but Andy and the offense need to have a sit down. Everybody, Patrick, everybody needs to sit down and say, look, defenses are going to force you to run the ball. Okay. They're going to force you to do it because you have shown a willingness to go away from it, even if they're rushing three, doing whatever they got to do. On offense, you have to having Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Mahomes is enough to continuously scare defenses. So now you have to use the offensive line that you have created and force teams to play to what you want to do. You want to throw the ball, you need to come out and run it down their throats and say, fine, you are going to play back two deep safeties, you're going to rush three, whatever. We're going to come out and we're going to run the ball, okay? This is the dynamic that is shifted. The offensive age has opened up this whole bag of worms, and Andy Reid needs to go back to when he was with the Eagles, even a little bit more, and try to find a way to balance this out. You have to run the ball. It's so funny how 2 years ago we talked about how just throw the ball. It doesn't matter anymore. No, now you have to run the football. It doesn't matter.
Not so crazy anymore, am I?
No, you have to. There's this whole idea that only throwing the ball is going to be fine. When defenses say, "Hey, call your bluff, Andy. Run the ball." I bet you won't. He's like, "You're right. I won't run the ball." And guess what? You end up losing an AFC Championship game because you don't run the ball. So, yeah, that's what they have to do. It's honestly as simple as that. And then you can open everything up. That's what it is.
Yeah, bring balance to the force. It's, make them. And honestly, if you take it to the next level and you really enforce what you're capable of doing with this offensive line, and maybe you bolster it, maybe you add in the draft.
Yeah,
there's a couple of players that you could get on day 3 that could help out with that. Maybe you take it to the next level and you say, you know what, we're going to give Patrick the first quarter off. We're going to scram it down your throats to the point you have to get out of those two guys. You have to bring that safety into the box. And all of a sudden you're cooking with gas. And that's it's a mentality shift for a 63-year-old coach.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen? Beats the hell out of me. I'm doubtful, but that's how it could happen. In the meantime, you have some of the building blocks. Do you need to get a little bit more speed at the tailback position? Yeah, you do. It doesn't have to be a first-round pick, folks. Got a lot of questions this last week about first round picks. And I'm like, I'm still not getting another running back in the first 100, let alone the first round.
No, I'm not.
So that's out the door. But what I will say is they have to, I think, get scarier. And I think it is a mentality thing as well. They have to have enough weapons, not just that guys that can make plays like Pringle, guys that are sneaky effective. They have to have guys that scare everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's more important mentally for what the defense has to go through in preparation by getting an Allen Robinson or getting, some free agent that has a name that you can actually scare them with, and bolstering the wide receiver position through the draft with guys that are freaky in skills. And I'm not talking about average good guys that run good routes and have nice hands. I'm talking about physical, athletic freaks that stress defenses out. That's what I'm looking for.
Christian Watson, anybody? I feel like he's the kind of athlete that can actually bring this offense to the next level. We'll see if he comes into the NFL and actually do that, because it's one thing to show in one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl that you can do that, because everyone's been talking about him since the Senior Bowl. But we've seen Denzel Mims, who couldn't separate at the collegiate level, come into the Senior Bowl, kind of blow it up and get himself drafted in the second round, and he's been unable to do anything in the NFL since, creating separation. And that's a big, big thing. And I think Watson has that kind of thing, but it doesn't matter if you're a big physical body in today's NFL. If you can't create separation, specifically in this offense, okay, you're done for. And you're not going to be able to get on the field, and you're not going to be able to continuously put fear in defenses. And for as much as we saw this offense excel, I think that at times against the Bengals and really throughout the entire season, everybody, when they took away Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, had some issues creating natural separation. That's going to be the fundamental problem, and the fundamental way you beat defenses this way, especially if you're going to be Andy and throw the ball at will. You need some guys that can create natural separation, not just by running clean routes, but being fast and having that hip bend and the hip sink and all that stuff to be able to break corners off. If you can't do that when they're playing 8-7 man defenses in the backfield, I mean, you're not going to get anything done.
Yeah. Well, and what's the key? If you can't separate, if you're somebody like Drake London that doesn't make his living separating, you still have to be able to do something yak. You have to be able to make that possession and turn it into something. Now, he's got the physicality that he could shuck safeties. I am not scared about that at all, even at the NFL level, because he plays with such a physical dominance. There are a lot of other guys, lower down route runners, that I think, especially out of the slot, you have guys like Kyle Phillips, Khalil Shakir, Jarrett Stearns,
Sky Moore,
even Britton Cuffey, Sky Moore. I mean, there's 5, 6, 7 day 3 slot specific guys that can turn the middle of the field into Swiss cheese against nearly any defense, because of their physical traits, but they still don't have the fear factor. You got to have that X fear factor across from Tyreek, in my opinion.
You do.
So it takes multiple tiers, folks. It's not just going to be free agency. It's not just going to be the draft. You have to build a house of horrors to walk out there in the passing game. And that might even include a tight end too, because I know there's some question. In fact, I stacked, a question here. We'll start that in a second about Jody. And I think Jody can be an effective tight end. We saw him do it early on last season. Can he be the tight end too, though? I don't know.
I think he can. And I know there's going to be a question about Jody, but I want to just say something. The scariest format of this Chiefs offense is being able to run 13 personnel. When you have 3 tight ends on the field that you say, okay, look, guess what? We can run the ball, or we can throw it downfield with Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, and Jody Fortson. We saw that against the Eagles, and they just – the Eagles defense isn't great, but it makes them more multiple. When you can bring a 13 personnel offense on the field, and the defense has to be like, do we bring an extra linebacker on, or do we get nickel, or what do we do? You have to make a defense say, what do we do? And right now, defenses are like, okay, we'll just sit back. We know what to do.
We're going to go back here about 25 yards. Just wait.
Yeah, we know you're going to throw the ball, but you have to make him guess. So I think that Jody is there. He had such an impact on the offense, and it was opening some things up with jump balls, something that this offense hasn't seen since he left. So I'm hoping that he's back, he's healthy. I wish you luck, Jody. I know you're watching, because this is where we get all the best information, and we support you, always have since the beginning. So
absolutely. In fact, the first interview that Jody did in Chiefs Kingdom was on Locked On Chiefs. So I know that somebody will hear something. So that said, it's almost too bad, because it's almost like you had to break ground a little bit more, because he got a couple of those where they actually pulled the trigger on a jump ball.
Yep.
That's going to help it come through. And we got to be careful just not to put pressure on his injury return line, his timeline. So that said, we're going to get to your question on him, Ryan. I promise you. But want to say thanks, Robert. I'm glad you made it. Scotty, welcome. Glad you made it. Patrick, is there a reason we don't have an answer on EB or other hires, or should we be concerned? We should be concerned. It was like, what? It's going on 10 days now. They say, hey, we're going to have a meeting with EB here in a minute. We still don't know what the hell is going on with that. The Vikings have hired 5 coaches today. The Jags have a full staff, including one Bob Sutton and another ex-chief coach, Bob Cooter. Like people who I don't know if should necessarily have jobs, are getting jobs, and it's done, and it's in the league, and we still don't know who's going to be working this offense. And here's the problem: that's just one spot. It's not like you're making a decision: do you bring EB back or not? That is a cascade about the quarterback coach position as well. I think they need more depth on the coaching staff across the whole. Just the fact that we don't know anything, that is a concern, Patrick. I don't know what that means. If that is, he was not going to come back originally, or now they're leaning towards getting him, or they're like, hey, we want you back. And he's like, no, wait a minute. Maybe I do want to come back. I don't know. I think one lesson we can take from last week, though, is if you're a blogger or a sometimes blogger or some dude to put stuff on Twitter and you get a source, you best watch out what that source is telling you.
Yeah.
Because not everything rings true. People have agendas. People say things for a reason, and it may not be what you think it is. So, okay. You take one, because I need your opinion. If the Packers cut Zadarius Smith because of their cap situation, should be all over it.
I mean, I don't dislike Zadarius Smith. I think he's actually kind of a little bit more of a souped-up Frank Clark type of player. A big guy, long. He has speed, a little bit of speed, some bend, and he's a big power guy. I think we've seen him be just that in Green Bay. I'm trying to find a guy who's got more bend, more speed. And I like Smith, but he's getting a little bit up there now. Like, I think he's approaching 30. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But I think he's getting closer to that. But he's going to be more expensive. If you're going to go that high, I guess we say high in age, but you approach that veteran type of guy, I think we're looking more for an Ogba or an Ingram, who you're going to get a little bit cheaper, that you can still squeeze some of this, juice out of. And I think Smith has quite a bit left. Obviously, he's not anywhere near retiring, but he's going to be what, 16, 17, $18 million. And if I'm spending that much on a defensive end, I'm looking at Chandler Jones, because not only is he all of that and more, he's got the potential to still be an elite player at his position, like elite. I'm so sure.
I'm with you. If I'm spending more than 12, I am screaming down Von Miller's neck until he says yes. Period.
Exactly. Like Von Miller, Chandler Jones, like these guys that can be. We saw Von Miller absolutely blow up the playoffs. He showed that he is legitimately still one of the top probably 7 defensive ends in the NFL, at his peak. So if I'm shelling the money out, I want to be the biggest kind of production. And I don't think this defense speaks specifically to what Zadarius Smith is best at, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I have to tend to think that as well. And I know that there are some guys, and I've been running a lot of mocks, folks. If you missed yesterday's mock, please go check that one out. I went Cam Thomas for like a power Spags, kind of like power edge, right? Not a bender. I think that cannot be the only way. I think they have to expand their strike zone. They have to get some speed rusher, edge bender type guys as well, so you can change up that pass rush. There are plenty of times this defense is still going to be in third and long. You have to have guys that can get there multiple ways. And I think that's one thing that they've been a little bit too blinders on in just, we want our type of guys. We're not going to look at any of these guys. They're speed rushers. They're getting to the quarterback.
You're looking at this defense. We saw them have a huge pressure rate. You want to know what creates pressures? pushing guys into the backfield, like pushing your offensive tackle into. So as much as I think they were creating pressures, a lot of it was also kind of false pressure when you're pushing a tackle or an offensive guard into the backfield, but you're not getting off of that block. So you're still technically creating a pressure, but you're not actually making it so you can convert those pressures into sacks. That's why we saw such a disparity between the pressures and the sack rate on this defense.
And that it's funny that you bring that up, because I've been explaining to people how I'm expanding Rogue Analytics metrics that go out to the public that I don't keep just for the teams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to expand that, because you guys hear me talk about pressure is the most important, because it is. It puts you in position to actually affect the quarterback. But then there's that whole other thing that is the finish rate. Can you actually hit the man? Because that's your job.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, make contact. That's okay. So you're going to see a lot of that. There's a lot of edge rushers in this class, and there are all flavors of them, from long, tall power guys to dudes that can dip and get all the way around the edge. Mm-hmm. And those guys, there's going to be a couple of them on day 3. I don't think D'Angelo Malone is going in the top 100. So
probably not. There's
going to be options here, folks. D'Angelo Malone, if you guys don't know, Western Kentucky. I am fully endorsing now the law firm of Zappy, Stearns, and Malone of Western Kentucky. Welcome to Paducah. They
Western Kentucky's got some players. I'm actually going to be getting into Jarrett Stearns' film a little bit here this week, maybe next week. I'm excited because that guy can play.
I can't wait to see your opinion, because I started watching him in October, and I'm way out on a limb on him right now. Yeah. So I'm looking for somebody to join this branch. Metal, how are you? Good to see you too. Was wondering if you have done any film work on Nebraska Cam Taylor-Britt. Not yet. I have him as a day 3 guy, just in terms of production and everything. He is on my list to watch, though. I don't know about you, Dan.
I haven't seen the corners yet. Like I said, I think I'm going to probably get to more defensive guys in terms of who we're going to draft. So like Wednesday's film reviews are going to be more defensive based, because I think, if we're being honest, wide receivers like up there, but I can't just stack everything with wide receiver. We got to go through safeties, some corners, some linebackers, some defensive ends, some defensive tackles. Really, they're going to be drafting everyone on the defensive side at some point. So I think that it's definitely going to happen. We're going to get to some. Nebraska's got a couple guys that the Chiefs could draft that I think would really boost them. Specifically, JoJo. Give me JoJo, linebacker, coverage guy.
See, do you like him as a linebacker though?
I do. I think he can play linebacker. I think you're going to have to see a little bit of bulk up, get him on an NFL, weight training program. And I like his instincts still. I still think he has the instincts there. So if he could bulk up a little bit, like he's going to at the NFL level, I do think he has actual 3-down potential.
Okay. I'm a little reticent about that. They played him at strong safety, the Senior Bowl, and I didn't like what I saw, because again, it's not what he's done, but I think strong safety is his future.
I don't. I think he can be a linebacker in the NFL. We'll see. Obviously,
I hope you're right.
Will tell,
because I'm just worried he's going to get run over. But I'm pulling for the guy. Toure's another guy. Toure. I can't remember how you say his name.
Yeah.
With my wife watching every Nebraska game there is, I should know these guys' names by now. But yes, we will make sure to hit a lot of the local prospects.
For sure.
I don't know if Canberra Taylor is going to be, or Taylor Britt is going to be a guy that you target specifically, because I haven't seen any one thing that stands out about him. He's seems like a well-rounded kind of like
a Rashad Fenton kind of guy, if I'm being honest. That's how he feels to me.
So we'll see, Metal, but we'll give you our report when we get there. And we're going to have a lot more film formalized for you guys this year. So we're cooking up some things. I think you'll dig it. And here's Ryan's question. He asked this a little bit earlier. Do you see Fortson having a true tight end 2 breakout season? I'll let you answer this.
It really depends on how you define a breakout. I think we saw the breakout happening earlier this year. Like he was getting touchdowns and being impactful. Tight end 2, you need to impact the game. You don't need to have this breakout like 800-yard season. You just have to be impactful. Take what you get and make it impact on the offense. And he made a true impact on this offense. Being multiple, he was better in the run game. Both he and Noah Gray made vast improvements in their run blocking over the course of the offseason and into the NFL season. That's how you make an impact, being a breakout tight end 2. So yes, I think that we saw that happening a little bit. Don't want to rush his progression from his injury, obviously, but you have to let him work into it. And as soon as he's healthy, I think he's going to have that impact again.
Yeah, I do too. I haven't seen an update at all on his progress to this point. So that's why I'm just like, until it's time, guys. And I know there's a lot of channels out there that are just basically running down the news lately, whether it's, the guys we always talk about. There's some nice upstarts that are coming
Yeah.
on. We're getting more contributors to YouTube that are Chiefs oriented, but a lot of it is just reaction to news. They're not giving you any analysis because they don't know anything. Neither do we in this particular case with Jody, because it's been radio silence. So I will just caution you guys. There's a lot of comment on and talk here on the platform that doesn't have any information behind it. So that's why you won't see us doing that. But we're hopeful. And if we get an inkling of that, we'll have a better idea, like if and when. And I do think Jody is not at his peak. I think the injury set him back clearly, but I think he had more upside yet. So not done. Jones and Miller. Okay, you hit us cold. You're right where we're going. Choose between the two and give a big contract. Which one would you get? I don't think this is particularly close, in my opinion. Chandler's very good. He was a Pro Bowl player again. But quite frankly, for a guy that you probably want to just play mostly on second and third down, because you want Mike Dana to get on the field, you want some contribution there. That's important. I'm going Von Miller all the way.
Okay, so age-wise, Von Miller's 32, Chandler Jones 31. Mm-hmm. My personal lean is Von Miller because he gives you this get off. Okay, you saw what the get off does in this defense with Melvin Ingram. Like, you saw it. Like, he has it there. If I'm projecting what I think the Chiefs would view more, it's Jones because he's bigger, longer, bit more power behind him in terms of setting that edge and being a guy who you might get 3 downs out of. But I'm with you myself. I would lean Miller, but I think they would go Jones over Miller.
It all depends, and I think this will be very telling, you guys. If we hear that there's a chase on for Chandler Jones, and there isn't one for Von Miller, one of two things: either Von said, "Hey, by the way, I'm not signing anywhere else, but I'm going back to LA," or you're beginning to see a possibility of the future not being the quote unquote Spags stereotype. Read into that whatever you want. I'm not saying one thing or another, but the future will be variable.
I'm hoping that this kind of the Melvin Ingram sighting kind of woke him up a little bit. Said, hey, maybe I'm doing something wrong a little bit because I've got like 5 defensive ends that all did the same thing. And then I have this guy over here who's just constantly making plays. I don't know.
2.46. 2.46 was the average time to throw in the AFC West this year. It doesn't matter if you're a powerful pocket crusher. No. It ain't enough time. And I think the fact that Melvin walked in there and was so productive in this defense as the lone real speed threat, it tells you what you need to have.
Uh-huh.
Don't overthink it, Brett. I'm just saying.
Don't do it.
While both injuries are severe, which one worries you more when it comes to wide receiver and safety, Achilles or ACL? Thanks, Sean. That's a very good question. I'll tell you my professional opinion after Dan tells you what he thinks.
Personally, I'm going Achilles over ACL just from what we've seen over the last couple of years with the way that they can restruct the ACL, get it seem a bit more firm. I've had my own ACL done. Honestly, it's new. Like I've had it a few years. Like this was a few years ago, almost 10 years ago now. I tore my ACL. But you've seen over the past couple of years players come back from the ACL injuries and kind of play like new. It's much more. In my opinion, from what I've seen, again, I am not a doctor by any stretch. Ryan's going to be way more informative on this than I am. But what I've seen is Achilles right now still seem to be a bit more hit or miss in terms of getting back to that level of play.
Yeah. You're doing fine, Dan. I am not a physician either, but I am a physiologist. And I'll tell you this, guys, over the last 5 years, what we've seen in studies, particularly in hockey and other power sports, because they haven't, of course, the NFL won't allow one to be done with the NFL data. But you see a faster decline in terms of career progression in explosiveness and fast twitch ability in the Achilles injury than you do in the ACL. Think of ACL as, yes, it's a weak point that can be injured, but it is a structural component. It is not how fast the engine revs, it's your frame. That's the way that you can think about it. Sorry for the alarm going off there. So in the long run, the Achilles is something that you want to watch more. And I think that if you asked Derek Johnson, if you asked Mike DeVito, the feel for what you can do is probably the thing that limits the players the most and how they feel different. But yeah, that's what I'd be worried about. Bert, hope you're doing well. Bring in Juju and DJ, draft CB, LB, and DL. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think that they need. I actually like Juju Smith-Schuster and what he would bring to the offense. Being a guy who can actually win from the slot, create separation, but also has the versatility to play on the outside. If he can get his head in the game and not on TikTok on the field, I'm all for it.
Yeah. If he just confiscate his phone every time he walks in the stadium, I'm fine with it. Here's a bucket. Come through security. Just leave it there. Yeah. Julian, hope you're doing well. Thanks for the question. And folks, I see the super chats are coming in. We're definitely going to get to them all. If you would like to support the channel, the super chats, the easiest way to do it, you can just click it in the chat and we'll definitely read every single one of those. You can always grab one of these in the RGR store. That always helps as well. Got some new, I can't say the brand name, but the thermal cups are now available in the store as well. I know you guys have been asking for those.
Nice.
So, offense needs better wide receivers, and truthfully, we need a run game coordinator like the Rams or San Francisco. Thoughts? Absolutely. And I think it's very interesting. You've seen the ebbs and flows of the rumors around Liam Cohen in the last 2 weeks, because first there was interest from the Chiefs and not much else, and then it was the Rams are coming to get him, and then there was the Saints rumor. Like there's all these things. I haven't seen anything concrete on him yet. Nobody seems to have signed him yet because I think this is.
Rams just signed him today.
Well, see, that's what I happen when I go to work. That kind of sucks. Now I'm pissed. Point being is that it kind of goes up and down, but I think what we're going to see in general is he's the perfect example now, but I don't think it's going to stop. The creativity that Andy Reid brings to the offense in terms of the pass game, I think you're looking to find some of that in the run game. And to do that, I think the easiest places are the Shanahan tree and the McVay tree. If you can get even just a little bit of that, it doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be a dedication to the run. This isn't, Icky Woods or nothing, but it has to be something that I think fits with the offense and can then blow it out and make use of it. If you look at the Chiefs, how they ran this last year in terms of yards per carry, that offensive line made a difference. They were functional. They were efficient. They just weren't dedicated. What happens? There needs to be one play caller in Mahomes' ear. This must fix. Yeah, that's one of the misconceptions that one of those quotes from that piece last week is that there's 7 people talking in his ear.
It's not true.
It's not generally the case. In fact, I've never heard of that. So there might be several people's in EB's ear, but he's the only guy that I understand can relay into the quarterback. So but you're right. Clear communication. That's what it's about. Chris, welcome to the memberships. Glad you're here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's down there somewhere under Dan. Oh, and I even still have the wrong background up. That's the way it goes.
It's a nice background, though.
I'm working on some new graphics, in my spare time.
Yeah.
That's the way that works.
Ball.
That's not the right one either. The one that I'm looking for is the one that actually gives you the times up at the corner, like this one. Yay. So for those of you who are not regulars here yet, like, sub, hit the bell, and then you'll know when we do these live streams because they're Monday and Thursday at 6 Central. We try to keep that year round, right on schedule. It's good for me, and it seems to help everyone else as well. All right, we'll get going. Thank you, Chris, and welcome. If you want into the Discord, just hit me with rookie level or whatever that you are, and hit me in the emails of this one, rgrpodcast@gmail.com. That is the easiest way. Okay, back into the comments we go, and we're going to keep cranking. You'll see a benefit of the XFL and NFL talks about some type of partner relationship. I do in terms of sharing information. I don't know that it's going to become a developmental league or anything like that. I don't think the XFL wants to get pinned there. Do you?
They definitely don't. They want to be on their own. And this is the XFL is also going to have to deal with hope. I mean, they're hoping the USFL, which is now the United States Football League too. So you're looking at 3 different entities that are trying to basically make it so there's football all year long. And if you're playing when the NFL isn't, you don't want that to be a farm league, especially if you're trying to make it actual competitive, in my opinion.
Right.
So.
I'm totally with you. It's going to be about self-preservation on their part as well too. They're going to be concerned about it, but you might get something interesting out of it. At the end of the day, those leagues are going to find and scamper and dig up players that maybe the NFL has already like written off. And if they can have a resurgence, they can get a second chance. It certainly is the way. Not that this is the Mandalorian, but this is the way. Why is there talk of a boycott of the combine? It's because what the NFL, in all of its unjustified horror, has decided that they're going to tell elite, world-class athletes that generally travel with 3, 4, 6 staff, from nutritionists to physical therapists to athletic trainers of their own, you can only bring one person with you to the combine. And the combine I know it's great, but especially now that they're moving it to prime time, it is an ordeal for the players.
Yep.
It is lack of sleep. It is intrusive questioning. It's not just a job interview. It's like, it's an interview to see if they're going to put you in the loony bin or something. Like, that's how deep that this is. And now they want you to perform without your support staff, the people that keep you healthy and keep you hydrated and keep you on schedule. And it's the agents that seem to be more pissed off than anybody else from what I'm hearing.
Well, it's a good thing that they made it so the bubble's not happening. The NFL released just actually before we went on air that they would not be having the bubble for the combine. So we should have full participation across the board.
I'm glad that I addressed it there. So Dan will be taking over the rest of the stream since I've been paying zero attention today, folks. Back at work on Monday, it was kind of a long day. Dang it. Okay.
Oh, good. That's why we're both here.
I actually made a video to go up this tomorrow morning, so you can see that just in case. It's totally mute at this point, but I'll give you the reasoning there. Let's see. I didn't mean to jump. Julia's question. Yes, Christian Watson from NDSU, Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama. Thoughts. Those two players will put us over the top. I'm not huge on Tolbert, I have to say. I think he's a nice receiver. It doesn't move the needle for me. It doesn't tell me that I got to go find a way to get that guy.
Yeah, and the problem is, with guys from NDSU and South Alabama, is level of competition. And there were times for both Tolbert and Watson that they weren't dominant 100% of the time on the field. And if you're playing lower level competition like that, typically when I'm doing my film watch, I need to see basically you be the best player on the field 100% of the time to justify where they end up going. For example, Christian Watson's probably going to end up being a second-round pick. I'd feel much more comfortable with him in the third round. But he's been pushed up, and his testing, specifically the combine, is going to push him up even more because we all expect him to test very well, run fast, have good three-cone times, things like that. And I can't – I'm not there yet. Like, second, I'm more comfortable with a third-round pick on him. I'm just not sold on taking him in the second because that shows me, at least – that you should be technically like a starter almost right away. You should be a starter impact player. Yeah. And I'm not there with either of those smaller school guys.
I totally agree with you. And it's not a detriment to him. He had 801 yards this last season. I think it was like 13.6 a reception. Good. Not as dominant as you would like to see. That tells me there's going to be a little bit more of an adjustment. Clearly, he had a nice week at the Senior Bowl. But I will tell you this. He is going to rise into the second round, maybe even the first round by the time it's all over for the media boards.
Yeah.
The teams are not doing that. There's going to be a huge distinction, you guys. One thing that we're going to do, I personally am going to do a better job this year of explaining that I am grading for what a guy can do in the league. It is a projection as much is an evaluation of his college film and performance. And so you'll see a lot of people hyping a lot of prospects this draft cycle. You will not see that from us because we are going to be realistic about how we go about that.
As good as I can, because you guys are seeing my stuff on Twitter. Like, for example, I like Christian Watson. I like what he brings, his versatility, and I'm going to hype some of that up on Twitter. And then I get on here, I'm going to get on our draft stuff, and I'm going to be more level-headed. So when it comes to Twitter and here, don't be like, well, why'd you say that? Why'd you say that? Because I can get excited about my own personal fandom about a player. I can like a player a lot. But I also have to be in this seat and say, this is what I think ultimately will happen or can happen to the best of my knowledge.
Perfect. And that's the way we like it. So remember that, folks, as we go through the process, there's going to be a lot of hype. We'll make sure we tell you exactly where it is. Can we, or could we, thank you, Quinn, franchise Matthew instead of Brown and just sign Brown? That is a possibility. Yes. I think the franchise number for the safeties is 14.8 this year. I'm not 100%
right,
though. It's clearly lower than the tackle. But again, this is a personal league. This is about relationships. And I don't know where those two things stand. And quite frankly, as good as Orlando has been the second half of the season, I wonder if they don't want to see a season on the franchise tag just to bite the bullet one more time and make sure they're getting what they're paying for.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. I think that makes some sense. And I think that Matthew would be a little insulted by a franchise tag.
I kind of do too. And you know what? Let's keep him pissed off at somebody else, not inside the building.
Not the team.
Dalton, thank you. How is Jody doing? Could he be a weapon for next year? He could, and we just don't know. I will do my best, you guys, to get back in touch and see if we can get him on the show.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Mike Burton said he'd come back on the show, so we should hear from him as well. He is technically a free agent, but he will be in Kansas City.
He will be.
I'm not giving you my children, but just short of that, I would guarantee. Why doesn't the NFL do the QB and wide receiver competition anymore? Would you all like it to make a comeback? I'm not sure which one you mean.
I don't either.
They will be throwing routes. In fact, they've changed a few things. They're going to be throwing some different routes at the combine this year. So I don't know that it's a competition as much, but they definitely will be working out. So hit us lower down in the chat again, Lego, and explain if I'm not understanding you right. Jason, welcome back. Do you see the Chiefs needing to gain trust, or Patrick needing to gain trust with his O-line and other receivers other than Kelsey and Hill? It seems like he was playing scared a lot this past season. I didn't take it as scared. I felt like he wasn't breaking in, certainly the first half of the season.
I think we saw him figure out his offensive line over the back half of the season, specifically going into the game against the Bills. Like, he was maneuvering. He understood what was going on. I think you saw in the Bengals game specifically was a change in how defenses were attacking him, because he was still comfortable in the pocket. But when you rush 3 and you're taking away his first read, because they came out and said that they saw some things on tape where he will go to the ball quickly. And if you watch the first half of that game and then the second half, Patrick was trying to do almost the exact same thing in the second half that he did in the first half sometimes. And the Bengals are like, yeah, you're not going to do that again. And then he was speeding himself up. So it wasn't so much the trust or the communication between the offensive line and him. He was himself getting sped up because he was like, okay, that's not there. I need to find somewhere else to go with the ball. And then he started to speed himself up. And I think that's really ultimately what it came down to, is he was missing guys wide open because he sped up his own process. And at the end of the day, that will bite you.
And when you're rushed, you're rushed. It leads to negative outcomes, whether they're forced or unforced. Jaden, I've heard a lot of talk around Kansas City about Chris Godwin as a big possibility. He is big and he is a possibility. So will his price tag be, though?
Like $18+ million a year, even with the injury, guys. 25 years old. Yeah, it's going to be big money.
Now, remember when they said, hey, we're at 177, hold my beer. Anything's possible. Yeah. But it seems like it's a long shot.
You still have to extend Tyreek. Tyreek's going to get paid $20 million a year, guys, probably. Yeah. He's probably getting – the Chiefs are not going to have 2 $20 million contracts wide receiver on the roster. I just don't see it happening. That's my own thing.
I'm with you. Do you guys think that the Chiefs will try to make a splash at DT specifically and look for someone who can do what Jaron Reed was supposed to do? Great question, Josh. Folks, make sure you check out Josh's channel below. Josh, throw that in the chat so everybody can see it. I wouldn't mind it, but I can't think that that's the priority.
Yeah.
I got to think that's behind edge, certainly, and probably corner and probably wide receiver. Hell, maybe even linebacker. It all depends on how much they think they're going to get and have to be in the base this season.
It also depends on your new defensive line coach, what you think he can get out of the players you have. Specifically, if you bring Noddy back, you have him, you have Wharton, you have guys and Saunders who have the physical tools to be impact players on the defensive line. You're trying to see what this defensive line coach can do. You need to get him in the room, talk to him, evaluate your players. That's how you're going to see them attack the defensive line situation. If they think that he can bring something out of Jaron Reed, look for him to come back next year.
Yeah. I mean, it is all about taking it to the next level. And part of that is letting go of the reins from the coordinator on down and letting guys do what they do best. And Colin Reed Colin Saunders is a penetrator.
Yep.
Jaron Reed was best, in my opinion, when penetrating.
Yep.
They're not aggressive enough with that. And it's because they played poor run defense over the last couple of years. It's a combination of things.
Sorry,
it happens
guys,
to me all the time, see?
It's dead.
Resign Ingram, let Matthew go, cut Hitchens and Clark, sign a cheaper quality safeties, draft DE and wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. I'm with you on everything but draft DE and wide receiver in the 2 rounds. People have been bitching at me the last couple of mock drafts because I'm taking players that they don't think are positional needs. At the end of the day, I'm taking the best player that can do something for this roster.
Yeah.
If it happens to be a linebacker in one of those, that's what I'm going to do. If Devin Lloyd is at 30 and there isn't a better edge and there isn't a better wide receiver, I'm doing that.
Yeah,
because
I disagree.
You got to fix everything if you have the opportunity. And honestly, some of those players can do some double things. Devin Lloyd can rush the passer as well. I'm not saying he's Micah Parsons, but he can overhang pass rush as well. He has multiple aspects to his game. So, there's some hybridism there that can help. Michael, glad to see you back. I know that they haven't revealed their sources, but did they have all the proof to exonerate Ty Hill and see no reason to give credit to PN15 for their Rift article? Could you elaborate? I'm not sure who you're talking about other than the people who wrote that column.
He's talking about the people that wrote that article, that column. I was actually, when I was with Arrowhead guys, they were backing that whole Tyreek Hill story. So I have a little bit of info. They didn't give any proof. It was more about they found some anomalies within the proof that was brought forward. Things that they were able to kind of poke and prod around and find a little bit. It's not like they don't have sources. They do have some, but it's more to do on the outside, because if you understand Tyreek Hill's position, it had nothing to do with the organization. It was personal life things. You can kind of get a little bit more out of some of that situation than you can from the personal viewpoint of an offensive coordinator, head coach, and quarterback. So I personally don't necessarily believe. I think there are some things that we all kind of assume to be true from within that article, things we've been talking a little bit about throughout the season. There's a lot more as well that were kind of extrapolated, in my opinion, made to be exaggerated a little. But at the end of the day, we're going to see what ends up happening. The fact that the article was taken down, in my opinion, is a little telling. Tyreek Hill came out the next day, supported Eric Bieniemy. Multiple players did.
Yeah.
I know people will say Patrick didn't say anything about it, but he said stuff about his personal life. That's because it's his personal life, okay? Doesn't have to do with his contract, doesn't have to do with his quarterback coach, anything like that. So that's different. So that's my little soapbox on it real quick.
And I don't know anything about the investigation into the original incident with Tyreek back in college, but I know, according to the Department of Child Safety, because he has custody of his children, he was exonerated from that charge that, as I understand, was found to be maliciously fabricated.
Yeah.
And yes, people won't ever let that go. So we'll just have to deal with that. But yeah, I'm with you. I hear you all say run the ball, but don't draft a running back until the 3rd. What gives? Clyde isn't it? No, he's not. Clyde was overdrafted. He is a good back. He's not a first-round back. There is no such thing as a first-round back in the modern NFL. I'm sorry.
Not anymore. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's close to going to get. I'll tell you right now.
Right. And he went, 42nd?
Yeah. So I think, and I'm going to say something real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, Ryan.
You're good.
The whole offseason last year, no one knew about him losing 40 pounds just because his gallbladder stopped working. That is a huge impact on your entire season. He didn't look healthy up until the Bills game or the Bengals game when they started using him properly. He started to be a little more explosive way towards the end of the season, end of the season. He gets a full season, off season under him. I think you're going to see a very different player, more like the guy who was really good up until he got hurt his first season. He was actually really good, and no one was really complaining about it. And then he got hurt. And then, again, unfortunately for him, he's had some issues with his body, and we're all hoping that he can get that under control this offseason. That also doesn't mean they shouldn't add some speed to the running back room in form of UDFA's day 3 guys, because we've seen that kind of thing hit. You don't need to be a day 2 running back, a 4th round running back. you can get 6th, 7th, and undrafted free agent guys that can really do things in your offense, especially how scheme specific some running backs are. So, yeah.
Think of it this way. This is nothing about Clyde. Clyde is perfectly fine. He's a good back. It's the expectation that comes with being drafted in the first round. Yeah. Any running back in the modern NFL is a cherry on top of the sundae. It is not the base. It is not the foundation, because you'll find as it goes on, they're more dependent these days on their offensive line than they ever were.
Yep.
It is more dependent on the quarterback delivery to get you into the pass game, which is something we've complained about with Clyde. So you work on getting talent and specific attributes in terms of speed or ability to cut in later rounds. You don't spend those high picks on this position. Yep. That's where we're coming from, Lucas.
Yep.
Jeremy, y'all think we need another weapon scares teams? I know he is small, but thoughts on Calvin Austin? He's quick and wiry. He's a day 3 guy. Again, I won't even say that he has to run out of the slot, because I think he could make some hay outside. So, but again, because it's not a pedigree, because of level of competition, because of size, all those things, he cannot be a top 100 pick and still get value for that, because the odds of him blasting enough production to match that level of input is just not there.
Yep, I agree with you there.
Sorry, I'm getting a little heated about this. Value bugs me.
We got all season. We got off season. We got rants to do. It's gonna be fun.
It will be fun. Bartimus, do you think Ogba would come back to KC? I don't know. Money will probably decide it, is my guess, but other than that, do you have an inkling? Like, I don't remember hearing anything about like if it was like amicable when they parted or anything.
I don't think anything was bad between them. I think that he knew that they weren't going to pay him as much as he thought he was worth, considering coming off the injury. And the Dolphins said, okay, we'll give you $2-3 million bump in your pay. And he paid him back with 2 back-to-back 9-10 sack seasons, I think it was. And now he's looking for a little bit more bump up. I think that he's worthy of a $10 million investment. I think that's what he's looking for too. Double digit. I think that's what you're going to end up paying him. And I think that he's probably worth it at this point.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there's a little question of age there. Most people don't, like the end of the contract is going to be iffy, but that's all right. You can keep it close, or you can do it to where you plan on, there's always an end point before the end of the contract that allows people to let go. And I think that's probably what we're going to see. We're going to speed it up because we have 15 minutes left and there's a ton of questions here. You guys are rocking tonight. If you would, make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell if you're new or if you're not. Those likes actually help more Chiefs fans find us. Nathan, welcome. I'm glad you made it to live. I know it's a little bit different. What 2023 picks would you give up for Eagles 2022, the 19th pick? They have 3 in the first round. I'd give you a 5th.
I'm not doing it, guys. I'm sorry. There's this draft class is like reminiscent of the 2013 draft class. Like, it's just not as good. You're not going to move up to get a guy at 19 that's going to be that much better than someone you're going to get at 31. I just don't see it, or 30. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and honestly, this draft class in particular matches really well what the Chiefs want and what they need. They're going to get quality depth for their particular roster into day 3 pretty easily. So there's no reason to jump around, in my opinion, unless the front office falls in love with someone and feels they need to go get them. So let's avoid that, okay? Everybody out there at Arrowhead One. What about the RBs in the 5th round? Are they still on the board, Haskins or Cook? I like both those backs. Neither will be there in the 5th round.
And Haskins is not. No, sorry, guys. Haskins is just not going to be for this offense. He's going to run a 4.6. He's a plotter. He's going to run you over. He's not what they're looking for in this offense. They have Darrell Williams, who's probably going to be back. They have Clyde, guys that aren't going to run away from you. Cook can do that, but I don't think he'll be there in the 5th round.
No, I think Cook's probably a 3rd round pick.
Probably.
I mean, like, if they had everything else, I would say if you were in the 90s in a year where you didn't need weapons, you didn't need edge, you didn't need the top 4 positions, then maybe you would think about it.
Yeah.
Philip, do you think we should bring back Tyrann Matthews, and do you think that we should? I think we should bring him back. Yes. It's a toss-up to me at this point.
I'm not going to give you guys my opinion because I actually talk about it on my video tomorrow. It's actually kind of funny what ends up happening. So, yeah.
How much cap space do you guys think we can clear and have for free agency?
54 million.
At least. Chris and I did a scenario on Locked On Chiefs last week, guys. You can go back and listen to that if you would. I would appreciate it. Like sub over there as well. We got it up to like 64, I want to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do.
A little bit of creativity, but yeah. They can do what they want to do. And I think, honestly, particularly at the wide receiver position, they're probably going to invest in veterans. I think they want veterans that have a better chance of producing year one in this offense.
That's the main thing. Year one production.
Jaden, there's a rumor going around that you guys are the new GM and coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks of the XFL. I saw that too. And, the XFL, thank you for your interest.
Appreciate it.
Short conversation. They have not hired either of us that I know of, unless you're holding out on me, Dan. They didn't hire me.
They haven't been in contact with me. I mean, I'm just saying I am available for input. I have a thing or two that I know about football. That's all I'll say.
I've talked to a couple of folks in the XFL, and they've been great. But then when they figure out that I haven't been inside in an organization before, they're generally a little wary. So cross your fingers someday, you guys. We'll get there.
The product is bad. Won't take chances.
Do we think that the front office is going to consult Patrick on his opinions for who the Chiefs should select in round one? I think they'll always keep him in mind. If they're feeling like they're going to go offense, they'll ask him. But I don't think they're basing it on his opinion. This isn't like Aaron Rodgers. This isn't like.
I can't believe that nonsense. Aaron Rodgers wants like roster control. Like, no, you should have input. I have no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Quarterback should 100% have input about the offense, but you don't get roster control. You can say, "Oh, I like that person. I like this guy. Oh, okay. If we like him too, that makes sense."
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that, you might as well not have a general manager. That's what they're for. Do they need an instant impact DE? Is there one in the draft? There's several in the draft. I think
depends on what you're asking.
There's several question marks that could be.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've noticed this defensive end class is a bit. There's like 2 or 3 guys that are immediate impact guys. Like will be starters on day one, 3 down guys. Actually, there's probably only 2 in my personal opinion. I think everyone else has questions in some areas. Especially after if you get past Hutchinson and Thibodeau, it's like, okay, Karlaftis is really good in the run game. I have questions about his consistency in the pass rush and being able to do that at a high level in the NFL. Ojabo, I think he's going to be great in pass rush. Can he hold up on the edge? Can he set an edge? Like exactly. Like right now, the answer is no. And I think you get down like I did in my film review on Trayvon Walker. He is an immediate first to second down player in the NFL. The dude is an impact defensive player. He's got no idea what he's doing with his hands in pass rush. No clue. So there's a lot of questions.
And he's not a bendy guy either. So they've worked him inside rather than farther outside.
Yeah, he's multiple. So he is multiple. Yeah. But there's lots of questions. We don't really know.
And you're not going up for Thibodeau or Hutchinson. Not at all.
Not getting those top 3 players.
I have gotten those questions, and I know everybody wants the best, and I get that. It's not going to happen, you guys. No. It's about finding guys that can give you what you don't have, and for me, it's still about that first step get off. Can you bend and get underneath tackles? So, Ajabo's great. I think he'll be gone before 30. I would consider him at 30. I will not trade up to get him.
If he's there at 30, I'm not even questioning it. I'm pulling the trigger.
Right. I'm with you. But then there's Myjai Sanders, there's Nick Benito, there's Tyreek Smith in the 3rd day, there's Robinson in the 3rd day.
There's lots of guys.
I'm not huge on Enigbare. I don't think that he has the juice.
I see.
He could probably play 3 downs different guy.
Yeah, I think his run defense is probably better than his pass rush at this point. Maybe I'm thinking of a different player, or I'm reversing it. I don't remember. Right now, this is February, and I have lots of players in here. Then they're all kind of getting jumbled at times, so it's possible I'm talking about the wrong guy. But
I will tell you guys one more guy to look at if you get a chance. Boye Mafe from Minnesota hung out with his trainer and got a lot of insight about his game, where he is development-wise. He is a guy that I think may be a better player in the professional ranks than he was in college.
I like that.
Another guy that I'd consider.
I do like Boye Mafe.
Chris, how do you – yeah, right. How do you feel about all the Chiefs picks this year that were on defense? Free agency was all offense. If that's the way they go, that's the way they go. I don't think they can. because free agent has to include Melvin Ingram. He's technically a free agent.
Yeah.
They're going to release Frank, so they probably have to have a bookend at the very least. Kendo is not it, guys. He is not ready to walk in there and become a starter. You can get by with Mike Dana, but you're nothing against Mike Dana, but you're not getting that pass rush.
No, I wanted him to be a little bit more, and I think we've seen that he is what he is, and that's okay. He is a backup defensive end who you can count on in the run game, and every once in a while you'll find him have some juice in the pass rush. That's totally okay for who he is. A 5th round pick turning into that's perfectly okay, because most time those guys don't hit on anything. So I'm okay with that.
Well, and the great thing about Dan is his motor gets him to the position to make plays. He will get some. But again, it's about that 2.46 in the AFC West. Get the ball out. That's a problem. Thank you for the support. St. Paul Chief, we very much appreciate you. Vikings are under cap pressure. They're talking about dropping Danielle Hunter, Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith, among others. Any interest?
One guy.
I would take 2, depending obviously on size of contract.
Yeah, Kendricks and Hunter are the only 2 names on that list that really interest me. Smith's
I would not take Kendricks. I don't think he fits what they need to do.
Well, I'm just 100% coverage linebacker. That's it. That's what I'm having him do if I'm covering. But Harrison Smith just doesn't. He's getting up to that point where he feels like he's starting to be like Dan Sorensen, and where he'll make some plays, but he's just a liability some other times.
Speaking of, Alex asked Eric Berry in Dirty Dan's role. He was looking to get back into football, and apparently just haven't heard anything. So Eric Berry's not coming back. If Eric Berry ever plays in the league again, I will buy him dinner.
I'll join him for that dinner.
Right. Cool. Assuming we use the franchise tag, who do we use it on? Who do we use it on? Matthew Brown or someone else? And if so, who? It will be Brown. There really isn't an option, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Lachlan, hope you're doing well. It might sound petty, but I'm Joey Pangolo.
Petty.
Hey, it is what it is. Petty, pretty, whatever the hell it is. Fair enough. And in the process of being petty, thank you for supporting us.
We do appreciate it. I'll just say one thing, that Joe Burrow is a good quarterback. He was not a very good quarterback in the playoffs, and I think that showed up in the Super Bowl. Really showed up in the Chiefs game, but they couldn't make him pay for that. So
yeah, it is about making them pay. RGR makes the offseason more bearable. Thank you, Chris. We're glad that you're here. If it wasn't for all of you guys, we'd just be sitting here talking to each other.
Yeah, right. We do that already. Like, it'd just be even more.
Right. But thank you for the support, Chris. We appreciate you guys and everybody who chooses to super chat us tonight. If both Ward and Matthew leave in free agents, do you think that they keep Frank Clark and focus on more resources in the secondary instead of the D-line? No, they've been burnt by this contract, honestly. Yeah. And it's not that Frank's a bad dude. It's not that he doesn't care. I do think that he does. It's just that he has not been able to live up to that monster contract, and they've been burnt by it. They cannot let that abide.
Nope.
$26 million against the cap this year? No way.
See ya.
Kenneth, Allen Robinson, Juju both publicly said they want to go to the Chiefs. How do you feel about that? I think that's fine. I'll give you guys both $8 million a year. Well,
I haven't seen Robinson say anything about wanting to go to the Chiefs. I think we've only kind of seen some conjecture that Juju does. I haven't seen like actual reporting that they all both have said, yeah, I want to go play for the Chiefs. Like, I think it's all just kind of been assumed because they're receivers and the Chiefs are really good on offense, but we'll see.
I'll believe Juju when he signs on the dotted line.
Yeah.
Thank you. Burned once. Do you see the Chiefs taking an LB in the second or third round? Gary, I can. Again, it just depends on who and where. That's what it comes down to.
You got 2/3.
Right? I've seen a mock draft video you and Arrowhead Addicts did today. I and Arrowhead Addicts did today?
That's interesting.
Maybe they posted one of mine. I know I've told everybody at Arrowhead Addicts they can use all of our videos if they want. That's fine. And Matt Connor may be coming on the channel at some point if we can ever schedule it. So you guys will get to see Matt eventually. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like the trades and the players that y'all picked up? I'm
sorry. I don't remember doing that one.
Lego, I don't think I've done a trade. Maybe they posted the Locked On mock. We did a mock for Monday where we did trades for today's show. Maybe they posted that. And in that case, we were very cognizant of getting value. So I felt like we did pretty good. 7-ish is what I would say, Lego. I'm sorry, I didn't know that Addict had put it up, so that's great, and thank you for them for spreading the word. Kenneth, Ingram has played OLB and DE. Do you feel that Von Miller? How do you feel about Von Miller left side of the line? Like together? I would not play them both. They're both pass rushers. You wouldn't double stack them unless you're really like trying to do that in an overload kind of. Yeah, I agree. See, it just sounds kind of fun though, doesn't it?
She looks so much
overload.
Than she used to, doesn't she?
Dude, yeah. The fact she's dressed this time, that's great.
Yeah. You say hi to everybody.
I do like the overload implications for that, Kenneth. I know I keep forgetting she can't hear me, so I'll just wave. Night. Chris said, give me Deuce Staley for OC. You know, I like Deuce. As much as I like Deuce, I'm not sure that he's bought in on what Andy wants to do. I think Deuce's philosophy is a lot more physical run oriented, but that's just me.
I would hope so.
Doug, this is a great question. What determines the compensation pick? Has one ever paid off for the Chiefs? I'd have to go look it up.
Yeah, I'd have to see.
Yeah. Nobody knows the comp pick formula. They will not release that, so we're just magically waiting.
So it's basically like you can kind of give a gist to it. Sometimes a player leaves in free agency, they go play somewhere else. They have meet a certain snap count threshold, production threshold, and that all determines what you end up getting. So if some player actually plays really well, you're probably gonna get a third round draft pick in terms of compensation. I've always just kind of done these assumptions in my head, and that's usually really what it comes down to. There's some formula the NFL has that if a free agent goes somewhere else, they play well for that team, you get a compensatory pick based on that in production level. So if you just kind of put one in your head, just kind of say, oh, he played really well, maybe we'll get a fourth or a third round pick out of that. Typically what happens.
Yeah, it's just nothing set in stone. Who knows?
No, just kind of assumed.
Okay, you guys, we're going to run through the super chats as we're over time, and I have to record the draft show in 8 minutes. Brother Rick, thank you for your support. Can you point out some explosive RBs in the Chiefs could draft in the draft? No, I won't, because they shouldn't draft any running backs, but yes, I will, because couple of guys. Cook in the third. Carr from Indiana, I like in day 3, maybe 5th, 6th. Jerome Ford in the 4th or 5th, I really like. I think he's got some juice.
Jerome Ford. I've already looked. I've done his whole film, 7-8 games of Ford. He's got juice. Dude's gonna run probably a 4.4, and he has real true breakaway speed. I think he's a perfect fit for his own scheme. Can really hit that cutback. He's got more power than you think for a guy who looks slim, but he's 220, maybe 215. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm a big Jerome Ford fan, but they're not going to draft him. At least they shouldn't, because he's going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick.
Yeah, I think he's in day 3, but yeah, he's going to be in that 4th round. And I can't see them doing that. Rashad White supposedly has some juice. I haven't seen his film yet, but he'll be a late day 3 guy too.
Yeah, Jaron Ely maybe too, out of Mississippi or Ole Miss.
Okay, fair enough. But there's a couple ideas for you, Rick. Jaden, thank you for the support. I heard a lot of talk about Godwin being a possibility. I also heard that you guys were the G. Oh, sorry, we answered your question before, but thanks for super chatting it now. Sorry,
appreciate you, Jaden.
We're just yakking. We're way behind. I'm gonna hit the members and the super chats, and we'll wrap it up. What about bringing Darren Sproles, who is with the Eagles for the running backs coach? They have a running backs coach. That's the only problem. It's QB and offensive coordinator that they need. I don't think that they bump anybody up to bring in Darren. I mean, I love the idea of Sproles as the running back coach, but I don't think that means that Greg Lewis is ready to be an OC.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I mean, Andy knows way more than we do.
Yeah, that's true. Michael, who would you worry about poaching the Chiefs staff possibilities? Poles, Kafka, Madison. I'm more worried about Kafka.
Yeah, he's the biggest guy in terms of working closely with the offensive guys, and that's really your area of concern.
Now, I'm a big Ryan Poles fan.
Me too.
Mr. Poles, if you see this, give me a call. But with Borgonzi in the house, Marantillis to do the cat, there's a ton of talent. I mean, Trey Colziel's still in there. Ryan Nutt is still in there in this guy department. It's like there's a lot of talent in the front office. So I think they'll be able to adapt. Dan's rants. Yes, we'll try to get some of those coming. Yes, Chris. I think if anybody can make a successful run game in Andy's office, it would be Sproles. Possibly. I really don't know him as a coach very well, to tell you the truth.
I think Andy just needs to do it himself. Run. I think Andy can scheme a good run offense too. We've seen it happen. I think he can do it. He just got to commit to it.
Exactly. It's the will. Big Chief Sean, welcome. Guys, make sure you check out Sean. He's been on the channel. He's going to be with the Rogue Head Huddle. You can see those guys on Friday. Linebacker and D lineman, what would be your choice in the draft? Are there any picks that I should follow? Yeah, I mean, Devin Lloyd in the first if he falls, Chad Mula in the third, maybe second if he's
probably
there.
Second, because you're going to look at the back end of the second. So if he's there, I think that's where he's going to land, is back end.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
I know, but that's probably where they're going to have to.
I like Damon Clark. He's not a pure coverage guy, but he can get away with it, and he can be the overhang Sam the style that I really like.
Yeah, I get that.
A more athletic Reggie Ragland. I like him.
Like that.
D line.
I like
it. Man, go.
I was gonna say Ryan Anderson out of with Montana State or something like that. The dude's just learning to play linebacker, but he is like Willie Gay type of athlete level. He's very intriguing as like a dart throw on day 3 somewhere. Like just kind of take him and hopefully he figures it out mentally, because the dude's got serious athletic upside.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like John Ridgway from Arkansas in the 4th round. I like Neil Farrell in the 5th or 6th. He's not a dominant player, but he is like an energy bringer, and I think that is something they need. He would be a rotational player in my opinion, but there's volume. I'm trying to look at somebody else here. Interior defensive line.
I haven't done much defensive line, guys. Just defensive end, not interior D.
I've done a bit, but not a ton that are going to be, where I think they should be drafted by this team. Okay. Daryl, build me a defensive line to keep Chris Jones, go through the draft and free agency. Resign Melvin, sign Vaughn or Chandler Jones, whoever you can get for a reasonable dollar. Then I would probably try to draft somebody in the 2nd. I would forego the linebacker there and make the D line the tackle, a pass rushing tackle, not a Noddy. I think they'll get Noddy back to control the run. A pass rushing interior. I mean, there is one defensive lineman I'd trade up for in Devontae Wyatt.
Yep, 100%. Devontae Wyatt is your guy to put next to Chris Jones and be run stopping and pass rushing. That's what it is. Those guys can do it.
But yeah, that'd be a idea there, Daryl. Thank you for the support, buddy. We appreciate you. Guys, I'm not going to skip your questions unless we've covered it. So Travis, thank you. Lego, you had another good one. Not looking for another kicker, no. Sean, thank you. CEH situation. Yeah, I mean, it's not really going to change. That they have to write it out with CEH. And like Dan said, I think he'll improve. Let's see. What is this one? With TB12 gone, could the Chiefs trade Chris Jones and get a mid-1st and 3rd? No and no. Even Aaron Donald isn't going to bring 2 top 100 picks.
Oh, I disagree completely. Aaron Donald will 100% get 2 first-round
30
picks.
years old. I don't think anybody would do that.
I don't care. I don't think he's the best defensive player in the NFL.
The GMs do. They would not give that up for him. It's still one position that you can double team all day long if you want. So, but no, the Chiefs will not move on from Chris Jones regardless of what we think value would be for Aaron Donald. Zach, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. What is the most likely free agent signing in your opinion? Love the Reaper shirt. Good. I'm glad. Awesome. I've been needing feedback on how the shirts are quality wise. Most likely. Most likely is Melvin, I think, right?
I think it's one of their own. It's the most likely is probably like a guy like Byron Pringle, who's going to not be very much money that they can bring back, who knows the system. But if we're talking about someone who's not currently in, like, who was in the organization, most likely is a low-level wide receiver guy. I think that a veteran like a Jamison Crowder or even a Juju Smith-Schuster to an extent. I think that's the most likely where they would go and spend some assets.
I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, because that's an easy volume riser right there that
Yeah.
you can dump the ball to repeatedly and get your money out of. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate you. Sean, will Chris Jones take a pay cut? I don't think they'll ask him to.
Yeah, I don't
They
think so.
could. I think it might be a little more optimistic. They might convert because he's got a pretty sizable roster bonus too that they can convert and spread out and get Cat back. It's one of the moves that we did on Locked On Chiefs the other day. So yeah, that might be more likely, Sean. Doug, great takes on the draft picks. Thank you for all the hard work. Hey, you're
Appreciate
absolutely
you, man.
welcome. I'm trying to hit the questions here. Michael, I'm not going to get too deep into Sam Madison. I don't know what the situation with Juan Thornhill and the defensive coaches. We'll just have to find that out as we go along. Please, you're upset with the Hall of Fame inductees. Didn't even pay attention.
Nope,
I got draft picks to watch, man. Sorry, Steven. I'm not there. I honestly have not been paying any attention. Is Kyle Hamilton the best player in this draft, Frey?
Yes.
It's debatable, but yeah.
I believe he is the best player in this draft. I think he can play like 5 positions on defense. I think he's that good.
He certainly can, and he has an impact. I would put him on par with Thibodeau, maybe slightly behind Hutchinson.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, I think he's the most versatile, and with today's emphasis on passing, I think the way that he can play so many different things and kind of do a lot of coverage stuff and get you guys in the right positions, I think that's why I would have him as the best player in this draft.
Yeah. Michael, I misread your question. I think I have no idea why he was in the doghouse for that time. My guess is it was Spags because I think Spags has control over that.
Yeah.
But I did see that attitudes change a little bit when you get Sam Madison around. And I can't say that article was anywhere close to correct, but we will find that out when we see the evolution of this group next season. Got phrase, Steve, as defense have adjusted to short stuff on runs, why haven't offenses countered with better blocking schemes? Do you think that running is still the best option in the short yardage? Because quite frankly, offensive line is probably the least developed position in college that you have to draft and then train up.
That's so true. It's so true.
It's difficult.
They play so much spread in college, and you have to basically relearn a whole new system when you get drafted. And you're voting on these guys' athletic traits pairing out. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. Ed, good question. Can the Chiefs take multiple edge players in this draft? Absolutely.
Might have to.
And quite frankly, I think they should.
Yeah.
Because no matter what investment you make in a 30-plus-year-old player, you got to replace him eventually. So, especially if you want to get somebody that has the physical attributes that you have to train up, like a Malone or a Robinson or a Tyreek Smith, you need time to do that. So that makes perfect sense. Let's see. Okay, got that one. Thank you again, Doug. Julian, your thoughts on drafting Trayvon Walker and MJ Sanders with the first 2 picks? I mean, they would certainly complement and basically fill out a side of a defense. A first and a second, it's close, but that might be a little overdrive. You might be able to move back 5 or 10 spots and get both those guys.
That's a very good point. I think you might be able to pick up an extra top 100 pick and along the way, because I don't think Walker is a first round pick myself, and I don't think Sanders is either. I think they're both mid second round picks, maybe a little bit higher second round picks. So yeah. I think maybe
I have MJ right on the edge of falling into the third.
No, see, it's
so, yeah. I mean, we'll get there, but yeah. I mean, the problem with they complement each other well in terms of Ben versus power.
Yeah.
So I like that, and MJ's more powerful than he appears. But I like I like where you're going there, Julian. We'll see what they do. Upside on Devontae Price. Thank you, Bill. Devontae Price, I have not watched yet.
Have you? I have not seen him. No. I'm
okay.
Sorry, William. I appreciate your support, but we just don't have the information just yet.
Yes. Honestly, I'm still pulling film. I know Dan's still pulling film. We're trying to find sources for the All-22. It's an ongoing battle. It is every year, but we try. But I do believe I already have him on my watch list. If not, Bill, I'm going to add him literally right now.
Cool.
And make sure. Because I did get around to Deshaun Corbin, who someone asked about a few weeks ago. And I think he's a fine player. Didn't stand out to me juice-wise, so I'm not making a huge push for him for the Chiefs, but I think he's going to be a nice player for somebody. He'll make a committee, and he'll help out. So I can't remember who asked for him, so I'm just throwing it out there. Did we get a comp for Sammy? No, I don't think they
No, he got hurt and he barely produced, so no.
Yeah, and I think part of the formula is a minimum of snaps played. I just don't know if he would have cleared that. You never know. They might surprise us. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Big Dave, I know you like Chad Muma. What are your thoughts on Channing Tindall? I think Tyndall's great. I just don't think that Tindall is a coverage first linebacker.
Yeah.
Who does he remind me of? There's somebody that he reminds me of. And I wrote it down in my comp and I totally forgot about it. But he's more athletic than he appears. I think he's more raw than we think too, because he's playing on a defense that is so well put together in terms of assignment sound players. I think that allowed him to really concentrate.
It's another thing, man. Getting some of those players that have like good defensive structure, you don't know what they can do when things go haywire, because typically they don't.
Right. But I like him. I think he could creep into the top 100. I don't have him there right now. I have him at the top of the fourth. But he's certainly got the physicality for it. He can accelerate downhill. He's a little bit more like Nick than he is like Willie to me.
Okay.
But I haven't watched him specifically. Most of my time's been spent on the rest of the front seven. You know, I'll get to him. Cali Chief, thank you very much. Appreciate you. How much upside does this D-line have in building around Jones, similar to the Rams did with Donald? I think Jones can have close to that type of dominant performances of Donald. It's pretty bare minimum right now.
Yeah, I don't know what the upside of this defensive line could be, because we've seen them put together what we thought were good defensive lines with talent everywhere, and they continuously underperform, and just even Jones to an extent underperforms for somebody who dominates. Like, he dominates offensive lines still, and he still finds ways to underperform it. We aren't always out of his control, or in his control, I should say. So I need to see what we are going to be dealing with the new defensive line coach, see what he can get out of some of these players. And I wouldn't have an issue trying to actually build around Jones and get some complementary speed with him, because they didn't have it. And we know that Jones is a speed, get in the backfield kind of guy. But that's the biggest thing that's always frustrated me. You know that Jones does that, and yet you went with power guys on the edge who can't get off their blocks, and his job is to push them to the edge. And every time they do, run back. The quarterback just goes for like 10 yards because no one's there.
That'll be another rant for another day. Yes. Thank you, Cali Chief. We appreciate you. I saw you guys asking about the running back class. Yeah, there's no interest there. Lego, there's no interest in taking a kicker. Never draft a kicker ever in your lifetime, ever.
No.
It's not. No. It's just not value. It's nothing against if they're good at doing what they do, but it's just not value. Cracker, how many veterans will we go after in free agency? They're going to make a run at a number on both sides of the ball, in my opinion.
Me too.
Because they want to replenish with experience. They don't want raw guys. As much as happy as they have to be with this rookie class playing well, they don't want to chance that every year. They want veterans, particularly at skill positions. Super Devil Juice, any chance at getting Daxton Hill? Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's a low 1 to maybe top 40 guy.
Yeah, I think he's going to be there at 30 or whenever the Chiefs pick there. So I think he's definitely possible. I'm actually going to do him. I'll tell you guys now. He's going to be in my Wednesday film room. So that's what we're going to end up doing. So we'll get a look at him.
Sweet. Cracker, will the Chiefs be watching the USFL? Yes. They will have people scouting that and the XFL. Anything that is organized ball above the college level, they will definitely have eyes on. That is the way that industry works. If you don't, you're losing.
Yep.
Flapjack, George Pickens won't stop till we draft him. I'm happy to have him in the fourth round.
I like Pickens, but
yeah.
Oh, really? Fourth round?
Yeah, I can't take a risk on that injury recovery.
I wouldn't either, and that's the thing. Is like he's probably going to be taken bottom second, top of the third area, and I won't do it. And that's nothing against the guy who could be a good player. It's just risky.
Yeah, if he had come back and he had been averaging 8 catches a game or whatever, but he averages less than 2.
It's the same with
It
Ross. Him and Ross are scary risk type guys because I think even though Ross played most of the season, didn't look the same. Whether that was because he was disinterested or because he lost a step, which I'm more inclined to believe. It's not looking good.
The 2 games I watched, it was on the quarterback more than anything else.
It was, but he just looks disinterested. He looked a little bit lackadaisical. Whether, like I said, whether that's last year just trying to get back from his injury or just because he was like, this offense sucks and I want nothing to do with it. Like, I can understand both parts.
Yeah. I have them both as day 3 guys because of the risk. That's the only reason. Flapjack. Thank you. And Bill, we're going to wrap with you. Thank you for your super chat. We appreciate you. Is Drake Jackson a good fit for the Chiefs? What round do you expect him to be drafted in? He's long. He's got good burst. I wouldn't say great. But he is raw as all get out. And he is lost in the run game a lot.
It's betting on those. It's always betting on your physical tools. Does he have the tools? Very much so. He and Ojabo are 2 guys who are just, they have the tools. And in the run game, they can't hold up right now. Like, they need to get in the NFL weight room and get up. But the tools are there. So as a second round pick, I'm all in on Drake Jansen. Betting on those traits to get you there. Because a lot of times they end up working out. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I have him a mid to late second right now. We'll see what happens when everybody gets watched because I have not watched all the edge rushers yet. But we're going to wrap it there, you guys, because we're well over time. I appreciate you guys hanging in. Appreciate all the support. And Dan, thank you for your time as always. You guys have a great week. Dan's got, what's tomorrow?
Tomorrow is my very first time on Over the Cap. I had a little fun with it. I've never done it before, so you guys get to watch me go through it and make mistakes and find some things out about it. So it's fun. And I'm looking forward to you guys seeing it.
That's awesome. Daxon Hill film on Wednesday, Chief in the North on Thursday. I have a couple of small videos dropping throughout the week as well on some prospects and on the whole combine thing. Hopefully you can get some takeaways from that as well. Thank you for spending your time and supporting us. We will be back with you tomorrow. You all have a good night, and we'll talk to you then.